Oh, man. Say it ain't so. The numbers, it looks like some numbers are coming back for the fight with Crawford versus Madrimov. Pretty much a tactical fight. I've already given reviews on the fight, but I want to talk about some numbers. So that's what we're in for. Boom. Jedi Goodman. Now, Jedi Goodman is kind of a numbers guy, and I've definitely utilized his services before, and the information is reliable. He just kind of stats and numbers kind of guy, right? But here's the thing. It's not just boxing. He doesn't just cover boxing. Like, he gives numbers to boxing, UFC, WWE, Nielsen media reports, some of the commission reports. In fact, if you guys remember when Devin Haney in California fought Regis Prograis and the California commission report leaked where Devin Haney he had basically rehydrated more than Regis Prograis for that particular fight. Everybody was talking about it. The report came from this man. So shout out to him on a job well done. So let's get into it. What is he saying? He says, 1 on Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov pay-per-view buys. It should wind up over 75,000 and maybe around 100,000 with streaming buys. I'm going to say it again. It should wind up over 75K and maybe around 100,000 with streaming buys. So Crawford Madrimov, as I've been telling you, for all intents and purposes, it looks to be a fail. Now, you can blame piracy. You can blame Terence Crawford not being a big marquee draw and star, or you can blame a combination of these things. But Boxing Ego's reporting is A1, the best in the business, and it's not even close. This is not surprising at all. And it's so funny because when I make these reports about certain fighters like Terence Crawford, most people get it. Most people. But the few detractors, the few haters, the naysayers, the illogical bud buddies, the radicals, they say, oh, Ego, you're hating on Crawford. I always source out my material. They never say Jedi Goodman, who actually published this number and got these numbers, or won, right? They're not saying these people are hating. Somehow the YouTuber who is citing his sources, I'm hating for opening the discussion. The other thing that I want you guys to pay attention to, notice the Bud Buddies, they could say you're hating and you're obsessed with Bud and Bud's paying your rent, whatever. They could say all these types of things. But as I always say, they could dislike, but they can't disprove. One thing that they don't do is disprove the report, disprove the information. So I'm good with that. You guys could throw whatever you want at me, put all the blame on me, say, oh, this is Ego's fault and all that type of stuff. As long as you can't disprove the information I put out, then I'm good with that. I'm built for this, and it comes with the territory. Some people are going to be, upset. These are the stages of grief. There's denial, there's anger, and then eventually there's acceptance. But for me, this is not shocking one bit, because Terence Crawford has always had this stigma about him, right? And it's not just Jedi Goodman that's reporting this. I told you, Kevin Iole, he put out scores of tickets. Thousands of them were given away for Crawford Madrimov show, and still the stands weren't full. Tickets were way overpriced. And even when they were drastically cut, it's not like there was a massive demand. They're saying this show lost over $10 million, right? When I reported that, people said, oh, you're hating. They didn't say anything about the actual author of the article, which I cited. They just said Boxing Ego. It says likely lost more than $10 million and the pay-per-view sales were negligible. This is pretty much what this other person is reporting too. 75 to 100K for a loaded card. This card was loaded. Turkey said Riyadh season, they came in and waved a bunch of money, did all these like ads. I seen ads on my Instagram. There's ads on Snapchat where they were trying to promote the fight. They painted the stairs with Riyadh season. There were Crawford, Madrimov billboards everywhere. And it just goes to show you that here in America, you know, branding is king. You can't just necessarily bankroll something and then expect it to be a success. The reality is Madrimov is a sturdy fighter, but he was a brand new champion since March. So it's not like he's this long-standing champion. There's other guys with bigger brands that would have done better numbers. People like Boots Ennis, who Team Crawford has basically said it's a no-win situation. It's a lose-lose. So it's funny to me that Crawford's team says Boots ain't ready and he's a lose-lose situation. But ironically, a guy with 11 fights who nobody knows in America was ready and gave Bud one of his toughest fights. And some people are saying it deserves a rematch, yada, yada, yada. So like I said, you can't just bankroll and put a bunch of money into something and expecting kind of new results. This is pretty much what they did, the organizers of this event. They tried to supply Crawford with an all-star cast, but that doesn't inherently make a great movie, right? You can have a movie. Remember that movie Battleship? It had Liam Neeson. It had a big director. It had Rihanna, right? The movie was trash, though. So it doesn't matter that you had this all-star cast. People didn't resonate with the movie. But then you can have a movie like Get Out, and people didn't even know the black dude. They didn't really know. None of them were big actors at the time, right? And despite all of that, that movie Get Out, based on the budget it had, Jordan Peele, versus how much it generated, it was a commercial success. And that's the way the cookie crisp crumbles. Terence Crawford, Bob Arum has been telling you, he doesn't really do much to promote the fight. He's kind of just there. Then you got an unknown guy like Madrimov who can fight. But I told you, this is what I warned. He's not going to sell the fight. Madrimov, not even necessarily super comfortable speaking English. And just loading up the card and putting Eminem on the concert in 2024, in the words of Jadakiss, it's good, but it's not enough. Rough Riders. You know what I mean? It's just not simply good enough. And I don't see why anyone's surprised. So basically, Crawford at age 36, 37, he's not doing better numbers than Devin Haney was doing, right? And allegedly, according to Crawford, he said this fight feels bigger than Errol Spence fight, which I told you was cap when he said it before the fight, before these numbers came out. There's no way it's bigger in any shape. Livegate won't be bigger. It didn't have more attention. It didn't mean more based on the public perception. So I don't know where Crawford got that in the Bud Buddies, but they're like, oh, look at how this has been promoted. So all those flyers, all those walking billboards and people with signs and, you know, jugglers and all this promotion, was it worth it? Because you dumped all this money into Terence Crawford and this promotion, you loaded up the card, and it wasn't the best card we've ever seen. It wasn't this legendary card. It was, in fact, very bloated, and the top three fights didn't deliver what people expected for the most part. So you wasted money. And then, like I said, Crawford's out here saying that it feels bigger than the Errol Spence fight. In what way? Because they're saying you lost $10 million and it didn't sell any pay-per-views. Errol Spence versus Crawford did like 650,000 pay-per-views off a 20 million live gate. So I'm going to keep spitting the facts and reporting that. Subscribe.